All right, welcome back to the Investing in Truth podcast. We're talking about Medicare today. I've got Linda Yeager, my moderator for the day, my expert at the wheel here.
Uh-oh.
And Marilyn McCullough is our expert that we're interviewing today, or just having a casual conversation with. Maybe I should say it that way. It sounds less daunting than an interview, right?
Yes, yeah.
We want you to be comfortable here. And we're talking about the details of Medicare. And we've already covered in our first part some of the general concepts of Medicare, but we want to get more into the details of it. And I also want to just give a little more information too. So Marilyn, the connection that I have with her is she's been helping out my family on both sides, my family and my spouse's family, with insurance and Medicare issues for many, many years. So she's a lifelong family friend. And the other thing I love about Marilyn is she has an absolute heart for educating people, not selling them something, but educating. And that's why she was willing to come in here today with us as well, so that we can just talk, educate, learn what Medicare is and how we need to be thinking through this and how we can be better stewards of making those kind of decisions. So appreciate you being with us today, Marilyn.
Thank you for inviting me.
And we're going to jump back in, and I think it'd be best to just do a quick review of what are the basic parts of Medicare, A, B, C, and D. We hear, we talk about original Medicare. So what is A, B, C, and D, and what does it cover?
Okay. Part A Medicare covers you if you get put into the hospital. Part B is for doctors, testing, blood work. And Part C is Medicare Advantage. And Part D is prescription drug coverage.
So one of the questions I asked before, but I think it'd be good to cover this in case somebody skipped the intro, is that Part A talks about or covers hospitalization.
Yes.
Part B is your doctors.
Yes.
But if you go to the hospital and you're seen by a doctor and only have Part A, it will only cover the hospital costs,
that is correct.
not your doctor's costs.
That is correct.
Well, that's not good.
That was an important thing that
was
I
no
noticed.
good, yeah.
Yes.
I want to make sure we covered that
Yes.
again. So under Medicare, let's talk about the deductibles and what a person has to pay. Are there deductibles? Are there co-pays? What should we expect out of these various parts of Medicare?
Okay. Medicare Part A, you have a deductible of $1,364, and that changes because every year typically goes up, not down, but that's set by the government, and then you pay 20% of the cost after that. Part B has a deductible of $185 a year and 20% after that.
Are there maximum amounts?
There's no maximum out-of-pocket at all. So you continue to pay the 20% on all bills that you have.
Okay.
And so if there's a major illness or a chronic illness that keeps going for years and years and years,
yes, you're
there could
paying
be
the 20%.
a big shortfall in what's being
Yes,
covered.
correct.
And as we know with healthcare costs, 20% can be a pretty large number.
It can be a large number.
All right, so we'll talk about how to cover those things here in a little bit. I often hear people concerned about, all right, I'm switching from private insurance or my employer's insurance. I'm switching from that to Medicare. What doctors am I going to be able to see? What can a person expect when they're signing up for Medicare? They're used to seeing their normal doctor. Are they going to have to change doctors? Are the same ones covered and willing to take Medicare? What should we expect in that area?
Medicare allows you to see any physician or go to any facility that accepts Medicare. So 99.5% of all physicians and facilities at this point accept Medicare. So you should have no difficulty in seeing the physicians that you want.
Is it still a good idea, though, to call ahead?
Oh,
just to check?
absolutely. Absolutely. Just like you do now on traditional health insurance, where you want to make sure that they're in the network.
Okay.
Now I'm going to ask you a detailed question. Maybe you don't know the answer to this, but when I'm used to a certain standard of care and the services that I get under my private insurance, is anything going to look different there? Is there a different process of getting procedures approved under Medicare versus private insurance that I may not get the same kinds of services?
There are probably more rules and regulations as far as the certification process under Medicare and what they do and do not cover. So physicians and facilities, because 99.5% of them accept Medicare, are very, very familiar with them. So when you go in and you need a procedure, they know exactly what they have to do in order to get that certified for you to have. I know there's additional paperwork on their side, really not so much that you will have to do that will be different.
Okay. Wow. One of the things we talked about before was that your typical eligibility is going to be based on age.
Yes.
So age 65 is when you're eligible for Medicare. So a question I get is, as people are working longer and longer, maybe they're not stopping they're in their job at age 65, so they're going to continue working. They have employer coverage. Can they keep that? Do they have to sign up for Medicare? And if they don't have to sign up for Medicare and drop their employer coverage, how do you make that decision?
It's very important that you get someone you can trust to talk to, first of all, that has some education in Medicare to actually explain all the options on that side. Then you also need to talk to the HR director at your company, because some companies will say, if you drop our coverage now, you cannot get back on. Or some companies require that if you're eligible for Medicare, you must take Medicare, and then they will act as your supplement. So you do have lots of choices. You need to know what all your options are to know financially what's going to be better for you and what type of care you want. But you're not required, if you're actively working on a group plan, you're not required to sign up for Medicare. However, you would most likely still take Part A because it's free.
So,
Okay.
it's a good idea to at least do that.
Right.
Okay, so you talked about your employer coverage possibly acting as a supplement. If that's the case, then basically Medicare is going to pay first.
Yes.
And then your health insurance through work may pick up some of the additional costs, so it's going to drop what your out-of-pocket may be in those cases.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Doesn't sound like you should just go to your HR director.
No, you need to find a professional who you trust that will go over all of the options with you and to try to help educate you.
Can I just ask real quickly, too,
Absolutely.
the trust factor, because that's huge.
Yes.
With anything that's this big that impacts your life, because you don't know what health issues you may or may not have. How do you weed through all of this to find that expert to trust?
I will tell you that as a person who actually deals with Medicare, I have to be certified to sell it. So that means every year I have to do a federal certification and then be certified by every company that I deal with. So there's hours and hours of education. So find someone that you know that has been doing it for a while, not someone who just calls you on the phone that you've never spoken with before, or ask friends. Referrals are the best because they've dealt with people before and they may have a good resource for you to go to.
If you don't feel burned and
Yes,
they've had a good experience.
Exactly.
then, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
someone who's in the financial business, I totally hear what you're saying, because you can have all the certifications in the world too,
Exactly.
and have
And
a
still-
terrible heart and be wanting to take
Yes,
advantage of people, and that's why
exactly.
you did your studies.
Yes.
But yeah, knowing somebody that's actually dealt with and sat down at the
Yes.
table with somebody
Yes.
through a process, huge.
Yeah.
And again, that's why I love you being here with us, because I know you care
absolutely.
about the person, you care about educating people, and that's what I would always tell people to look for first. Who's looking to sell you something? Who's looking to educate you so
Right.
you can make the decision,
Right.
rather than them telling you what decision to
Yes.
make. So,
And
super valuable.
if you call the 1-800 number for any of the companies, and I won't name names, but people who sell Medicare supplements, the actual carrier,
Yeah.
they're all going to tell you theirs is the best because that's who you've called.
Yeah.
So, and it may not necessarily be the best. That's why you need to find an objective person to help educate you on your choices.
All right.
All right.
Referral's a good thing.
Referrals,
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely. All right, let's jump back to the letters A, B, C, and D. So D was prescription coverage,
Yes,
right?
correct.
Is that something that I don't have to get it, right? It's
You do not.
optional.
It is optional.
Should I get it? And should I get it at 65 or should I wait?
I know people who are not taking any medications will say, why would I want to buy it? I have to pay this premium and I'm not even going to use it. Well, the government who set up the Part D prescription coverage also put some rules into place that said, we highly encourage you to purchase it when you're 65. If you do not purchase it when you're initially eligible, you will pay a penalty that stays with you for the rest of your life. And that penalty is 1% for every month you could have had it that you didn't have it. So if I wait 2 years, I'll pay 24% the rest of my life more in premium than I would have had I signed up.
Wow.
These penalty things. Wow, Brad.
Yeah, no doubt.
Penalties.
Gotta add these
it's
things
like a
up.
game or something, penalty.
I hear you. Red card. With prescription coverage, is there just one option, or do we have
Several
various
options. There's
Okay.
several carriers.
Of course.
And it's the important part is, you'll talk to your neighbor and they'll say, I have the best one. Well, they have the best one for themselves. What you have to do is have a list of your medications. What are you currently taking? Each carrier has a list of medications that they cover at different copays, and then they charge a different premium. So your list of medications is different than my list of medications. So the company company you choose or is best for you, it may be different than mine. So there's not a one that's best for everyone. So it depends on what prescriptions you're currently taking.
And the ones in the future that the doctor may say you need, but you have no idea.
no
Well,
idea
you
today.
are allowed, they do allow you on the prescription coverage. Every year you can change that, no questions asked, because of that. Because I don't know what the doctor's going to put me on next month when I go.
Yeah.
So every year they do have an open enrollment period that runs October 15th through December 7th. During that time frame, you can talk to your trusted individual who's helping you, give them your medication list, your updated medication list, and they can make a recommendation on what's best for you for the following year.
All right.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's move on to Medigap. So
Okay.
we talked about Medigap and all the letters associated with that. Can you just give us a real quick review of what Medigap is, why people would even want something called Medigap?
Medigap is Medicare supplements, so it's referred to by those two terms, and it's strictly optional for you to purchase. And what it does is it helps to put a maximum out of pocket. It helps to pay that 20% that Medicare doesn't pay, and helps on those deductibles as well.
Filling in the gap.
Yes, filling in the
essentially.
gaps.
Okay.
There you go.
There you go.
The name makes sense now. The difference between Medicare Advantage and Medigap.
Okay.
Again, just a real quick description of that, and then we'll dive a little bit more into the details of it. But just at a high level, what's the difference between those two?
The Medicare Advantage will also put a maximum out-of-pocket limit on. It's less expensive to purchase, but you're paying copays, and so it does have, instead of zero out-of-pocket, it may have $6,000 to $7,000 out-of-pocket in a year.
Okay.
So that's the major difference. And it's also network based. So now it's not with the Medicare supplement, I could go anywhere that accepted Medicare. But with Medicare Advantage, I now am back to, are you in my network or are you not in my network? So those are regional, sometimes even local networks.
Oh, wow.
So if somebody's trying to consider the difference between Medicare Advantage or Medigap and which way they would want to go, obviously it sounds like your providers is a
absolutely.
huge factor.
Huge
there.
factor.
So if you're in an area that has lots of providers, you're comfortable with that, then maybe that hurdle has been crossed. If you're not, then Medigap is going to offer you more flexibility.
Yes.
What about other factors that would play in? So we talk about it having a copay. So it sounds like if I'm healthy,
Yes.
that maybe Medicare Advantage sounds better because it's cheaper.
Right.
But what are some things to think through to help me make an
Okay.
educated decision there?
When I initially pick a plan, either whether it's Medigap or whether it's Medicare Advantage, there's no health questions asked. I just choose what I want to choose. Once I'm into a plan, now if I want to move or change, I have to answer health questions. So if I develop something or if I'm sick or have something chronic when I sign up, I may not be able to move. So if I am healthy and I'm in Medicare Advantage, it's working great for me for 2 years, I then get sick and have to start paying all these copays, and I think I want to go back over here to this Medigap coverage because it's going to cost me less for my claims. I cannot because I have to answer medical questions. So it's possible I'm stuck in that Medicare Advantage realm.
Okay. So what may sound cheap today, if we're not thinking
Right.
long run, could get more expensive as time
Exactly.
goes on.
Exactly.
So in some cases, it's like a lot of types of insurance. You pay more than you're getting benefit for today,
Yeah.
knowing that in the long run, it may be
Right.
the better option for me.
Yes.
Can't always bank on the what if of great health.
Yes,
the rest
exactly.
of your life. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good questions, Brad.
Hey, I've got questions. Easier to have questions.
We've
than
got
it is
several
to have the
lists of
answers.
them here, so yeah.
I've got plenty to go here. So when we talk about a Medigap policy, well, let's go back to Medicare Advantage. Are there options there, or is it just Medicare Advantage and Medicare Advantage?
Medicare Advantage is pretty much Medicare Advantage. Different carriers may say, here's our core set, but now we're going to throw this additional supplemental benefit in with it.
Okay.
But the biggest difference between them is the networks because they each have specific network physicians or facilities that you can see.
Okay. So jumping over to Medigap then. So as we talk about Medigap and them picking up as our supplement, what are the differences in all of those letters, and how can I navigate this big list of options?
The biggest
that I've got?
difference between them is the premiums that you'll pay. The Plan F has been the most popular for the last 10 years, but it's going away. So as of January 1, 2020...
So it's probably the best one then, right?
It was, yes, because you had zero out of pocket. So As of January 1, 2020, you can no longer sell that plan to people who are aging into Medicare. If you currently have a Plan F, you can stay with it. So it's grandfathered in.
Okay.
Plan G is the next one in line. You have an annual deductible of $185, and then you pay nothing else. You pay that premium and nothing after the $185.
Hospital, whether it's doctor,
doesn't matter. That's all I pay is $185 a year.
Now, does Medigap also cover prescription, or is that all just Plan D?
No,
okay,
that's
so this
Plan
is totally
D.
separate. This
Totally
is doctor,
separate.
hospital, those kind of costs.
You're going to walk around with 3 cards: your Medicare card, your Medicare supplement card, and your Part D card.
Don't leave home without them,
You got to have a bigger wallet when you retire.
Yes.
Not for the money.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
What about the travel factor? Do we want to dive into that?
Go for it.
So, you want to travel. Maybe you're traveling overseas.
Yeah.
That
If you're
kind of
traveling overseas, Medicare does not cover you if you're overseas.
Okay.
If you're going through Canada to get to Alaska and you're just traveling through, it will cover you in Canada.
thing. Alrighty.
But if I'm traveling abroad, it will not cover me. Medigap policies some of those do offer foreign travel emergency coverage. So if there's an emergency when I'm traveling overseas, it would help me.
Okay.
Yes.
And a lot of people do that after retirement or mission
A lot
trips
of
or
people
whatever
at
it
least want
is.
to do that.
Yeah.
So hopefully they're able to.
And honestly, if you're going to do mission trips or plan to travel abroad, there's something called travel insurance.
Yeah.
It's very inexpensive. That's really what you
Better
should
way to
probably
go.
do.
Good way to get situational
Yes,
coverage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
What about dental and vision? So people have dental and
Yeah.
vision insurance while they're working.
You do not have the coverage with Medicare. It
Okay.
is not a part of Medicare. If I have cataracts, that is considered part of Medicare, that coverage is, but nothing else is. Those are supplemental benefits that you would have to purchase an additional policy, more cards in your wallet, if you wanted to have that coverage.
So good idea to do preventative care while you're younger.
Yes.
As much as you can.
That's exactly right.
That's the case with most things. care when it doesn't seem like you have to.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And then you're better off later on.
Oh, goodness.
All right, so I think we covered a lot of the costs, and it sounds like with the Medigap policies, it's you're kind of just doing that trade-off.
Right.
Is it premiums and higher premiums for more benefits or less
Right.
benefits? And a lot of that, the deciding factor is probably really in a person's financial situation, right?
Exactly right.
So is it better to lock into a monthly payment that I know I can afford so I
Right.
don't get the big bill?
Right.
Or can I afford the big bill and I'd rather save the cost each month
Yes.
going forward?
Right. That's exactly right. So a lot of times when people, they're getting ready to turn 65, in that first year, you should be talking to someone who knows about Medicare, but you also should be talking to a financial advisor too, because you need to know, what am I going to be able to afford? Because that's a question that we'll ask when when we're sitting with you. Here's what the costs are. And, I want dental, I want vision, but can you afford all of those things?
Yeah.
Questions that'll come your way, Brad.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I got her. She can help answer these parts, and I'll deal with the financial side. So let's go back to Medigap one more time, though. Am I able to switch between those types of plans? So I go with a high deductible early on, but now illness sets in.
You only
am I going to get
get
penalized? It doesn't seem like you're able to
you
typically
don't
make
get
those choices after the
penalized,
fact.
but you get one entry that is guarantee issue. So when I age in and I choose a plan, guarantee issue, no health questions asked. But if I ever want to change that plan, like if I took the high deductible and wanted to go to another, I have to answer health questions. Or if I'm with the same carrier and I've been with them 5 years and I know I can get a cheaper rate if I go same plan, different carrier, I still have to answer health questions.
Okay.
The health questions are things like, have I had cancer in the last 5 years? Have I had heart stents? So it's not
going to exclude everything.
exactly. And if I had a hip replacement, that's okay. That's done. They're concerned about chronic things moving forward. That's going to cost them a lot.
Yeah. They're going to look at what they're going to pay out versus what they're going to bring in. And
Exactly.
it's that whole adverse selection thing where people want the most benefits.
Yes.
And they're willing to pay more for the premium.
Right.
Because they know they got a lot of out-of-pocket costs coming. So the insurance company knows
again,
that too.
that's what makes this first decision so important.
It is,
because
yeah.
if I'm healthy now, when I'm making the decision 6 months from now, I may not be healthy. And if I'm diagnosed with something, I want to make sure I'm in the right plan for me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's talk about how do you pay these costs too. So I know a lot of this is tied in with Social Security.
Yes.
So is it being taken out of Social Security checks? If you're not getting Social Security, how is it being paid? Can you tell us a little about the process there?
If I'm getting a Social Security check, my Medicare premium for the Part B will be taken out of that check before I even receive it. If I'm not taking my benefits, which some people wait till later on to take those, I actually have to pay that bill. So I will get a quarterly bill, and I will have to actually pay that bill.
Okay.
Medicare supplements, I will have to pay directly to the carrier. And Part D, I can either take it out of my Social Security check or I can pay them directly to the company.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense on the supplement because you're going to an outside company and
exactly.
shopping it out.
And
so.
Medicare Advantage is the same way. I would pay them directly because it's private insurance.
For insurance. Okay.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
All right. So let's say I'm ready to enroll now. And
Okay.
I know we got two different options, or lots of different options,
Right.
but the two ways I would break it down is you can go find somebody to help you with it, or you can go do it yourself. So let's talk through both avenues there. So I want to go do it myself. Where
Okay.
do I start? Where do
Where
I
you
go?
start is you will actually have to sign up for Medicare. So you'll need to go to a local office within your community, Social Security office. I can go online and do an online application, or I can call 1-800-MEDICARE. So any of those
So
options.
any of those three will get me
Yes.
signed up.
Yes, and that's
get
only
me
for
in.
your Medicare A and B.
Okay.
Yes,
But always through the Social Security route.
yes, correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, do I have to do it personally, or can somebody,
You
son or
will-
daughter, or
no,
somebody else help me do
You will have
it?
to do it personally unless you have a power of attorney that you have given to someone, and then you'll have to have that information, that document with you when you go.
All right. So let's go back to the idea of how we get help then. So there's the do-it-yourself option. So I want to go get help. Number one, we all believe in getting wise counsel. So surround yourself with people that know things that you don't know so that they
Right.
can feed into
Right.
that. That's just smart, and that's a good way to go. But my first question is, what does that advice cost me? And how much am I giving up in cost versus the benefit of giving the personal advice? So if I go and sign up online versus coming to you and asking you questions, what's it costing me? Because obviously the professional has to get compensated somehow. What's the difference there? What am I giving up?
The professional is compensated through the carrier themselves. So when you purchase a policy, you are paying nothing to that professional who has helped you. You will get the same price for whatever you're purchasing through the professional, or if you call that company directly to have that done. The company pays or compensates that professional for every application that they do. So it doesn't cost you. There's no pricing difference whatsoever.
Okay. So the way you said it to start with is kind of one of the ways that I always still caution, because if somebody's paying you, then are they building it into the cost? But then you got to the bottom line there of, now it doesn't matter who you go through.
Right.
The do-it-yourself person is paying exactly the same
Exactly
as
the
the
same
person that
price.
goes to an advisor.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's look at the possible conflicts of interest then. So we talked about when you turn 65, everybody's calling you. Everybody's sending you mail.
They
Yes.
find
So-
you.
They find you.
Yeah, so there's obviously money to be made here.
Yes.
Which, that's fine. We know everybody's going to be signing up for something, so there's an opportunity. So that validates why people are trying to call you and reach out to you, because you are the next potential customer. You're going to buy something, so
Right.
they want it to be from them. What do we have to look out for? What are things that somebody's going to try to sell us versus maybe what I need?
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to finding someone you can trust, because people who are contacting you, you want to make sure that if I do sign up, I'll be able to contact them back when I have an issue or a problem. So sometimes individuals who are not from the community or aren't a trusted recommendation from a friend or a referral, they're in the business very short term, because it's a tough business, because you have all the certifications.
Yep.
So you don't see, some people don't stay in a long time. So that's one thing to consider. The other thing to consider is some people, and you hate to say it, but in your profession, they're not as professional as you would like them to be.
Yeah.
So they may try to
imagine
sell
that.
you a product that has a better compensation package for themselves than the benefit to you for the product. So they may not try to match the best thing for you. They are looking at, what do I get out of the deal, which is going to pay me more. So those are things just to be careful of.
All right. Well, this is somewhere we need to stick for just a little bit longer,
Okay.
because I'm very conscious of in the financial world, some things pay better than other things do.
Right.
And everything can sound good if sold well.
Yes.
So you look at this list of options, and a good salesperson can sell you any of them and make you leave thinking you have the greatest thing ever.
Right.
And that's one of the things I notice is in talking to people that have already signed up for Medicare, most of them feel pretty confident about the decision they made, and they're telling me that what they made was a great choice. And I rarely run into two people that made the same choice.
Right.
So the question is, okay, did you really get the best thing? Maybe it is the best thing for you and the other was the best thing for somebody else. Or did you get sold something that until it actually fully plays out, you don't realize that you may not have the best thing. Yeah. And so knowing, are some things compensating the person better than others, that they're trying to steer us in a certain direction?
Yes. Again, people in your profession sometimes who are not the best professionals will try to steer you to products that pay more, and Medicare Advantage does compensate the agent more than what a Medigap policy does. And I'm not saying that Medicare Advantage is not the best for some people. I'm just saying do your homework and know what you're buying so that you know whether that's the best decision for you.
So if you use Medicare Advantage, you want the advantage to be to you.
Yes, exactly. Not to the person who sold it to you.
Gotcha.
That's right.
All right.
That's right.
Who's being advantaged by this Medicare?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Do you have additional questions?
I just want to thank you so much, Marilyn, for helping, to educate, because Brad, we all have that heart for equipping and educating people. And this is huge because 65 is that magic number. And when you hit it, it's very confusing as to how you even start with the process.
And you're normally a little late to the game.
When you
start to think about it. So
you were saying, just talk to someone who's had a good experience.
Yes.
Maybe that might be one of the initial things to do if you don't want to do the DIY, do it yourself kind of thing.
Right. That's what I would suggest, is find someone who you can trust through that referral process. People that are in your church that are over 65, or, in your small groups or your community, and you'll be able to find a good professional that can help you.
All right. And ask a lot of questions.
Yes, and ask a lot of questions.
One last question I have for you. So I know one of the common approaches is to offer a free breakfast or a free lunch or something to
meet at a
get
restaurant or whatever.
Get people to come. Is it worth the cost of my muffin or the cost of my hamburger for lunch
what
to
I
go
say
sit through one of those
is
things?
you can never have enough education, right? So it doesn't hurt me by listening. Just keeping in mind that people who do that, sometimes there's an ulterior motive, right? So if it is strictly an educational seminar, I would go to all of those, because like you said, education is not a bad thing. Right. So learning about those plans is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
All right.
There's a difference between educational seminars and sales seminars. So,
and you'll know it if you're in a sales seminar.
Well, they have to advertise it.
It may feel good throughout the process, but it'll let you know at some point.
And I would tell you never to sign anything right there, right?
Right.
Take
Absolutely.
it
Don't
home,
make a rash
think
decision.
about it, and then you have that trusted person. Go and ask them about it and see what their take is on it.
Okay.
All right.
Very
Well,
good.
Marilyn, we certainly appreciate the time. We
Thank you very
appreciate
much.
the education and the wisdom you're sharing with us. And we encourage you to follow our other information. Get educated. Always look to make a wise decision, not a quick or easy decision. So thanks for watching.